Breaking news coming in at this point. The cabinet, we understand, has cleared the food security ordinance. Remember, we'd been tracking that. The cabinet had really deferred taking a decision on that. That had come up on the 13th of June initially, but the government said it did not really want to take a call on an ordinance, but it didn't have much of a choice because of opposition coming in, not just from the BJP, but also from the left, also from the Samajwadi Party. And we understand that the cabinet has just cleared the food security ordinance. We're going to get you more details from my colleague Rituparna Bhuyan, who's been at that cabinet meeting. But let me very quickly try and get some more perspective on this story. For that, I'm joined by my colleague Siddharth Zarabi in the studio in Delhi. Siddharth, over to you. Talk to us about really what now is going to be the way forward. What are the challenges really now that this is going to face?
Well, a lot of challenges, and the big question is what has transpired in the past couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, for the government to have first had a rethink on not bringing in the food security entitlement law through an ordinance to now actually doing it. News that is just coming in that the food security bill will be introduced through an ordinance. The cabinet, which has met, a meeting that perhaps lasted for around 45 minutes, has cleared it. And while we are going to be joined by our colleague Rituparna Bhuyan, who is tracking the cabinet meeting, and other guests, let me quickly read out some of the salient features that are important as far as the food bill is concerned, and the big numbers. And this is, let me just put out a caution, on all the numbers, unless the cabinet has made any changes in terms of the entitlement or any specifics, the number is that the food security bill outgo on a total basis will be just short of 1,25,000 crore for FY14, and this will rise, although the quantum of the increase is something that we do not know. For the additional subsidy burden at this stage, over and above what is the existing food security subsidies that are provided across separate heads, would be of the order of around 24,000 crore. The coverage, perhaps the largest program of its kind in the entire world, 67% of the Indian population, of which half will be in the urban areas, half will be in the rural areas. We know the numbers: rye, wheat, coarse grains at 3, 2 and 1 rupee a kilo, a beneficiary cap of 5 kilos per person per month, and a revision to the subsidy after 3 years. So what you are really talking about is, if these numbers, and more or less these numbers, are now solid in print, there would perhaps have been no changes to all these numbers. What really it implies is that for 3 years this is the likely subsidy burden. But there are several big questions, and before we go into more details, the key question really is the political question. What really led to the government having the confidence from 3 weeks before of not bringing in an ordinance after sustained opposition from crucial allies and people like Sharad Pawar, who is a crucial constituent of the UPA, to actually having pushed it through? There were various sort of views that have come in from the ruling party as well as the opposition parties. The opposition parties predictably saying that this is not a good thing, led by the BJP, but more importantly the Samajwadi Party also remaining opposed to this bill. Some other parties not, of course, spelling out their stand. Let's see if we can go across to our colleague Rituparna Bhuyan. And while he is there at the cabinet meeting, the key points at this stage, once again to recap, is that the food security bill will be passed, will be implemented through an ordinance. Now, on the ordinance, what is crucial to note is that this ordinance is coming just perhaps a month before the monsoon session. The monsoon session dates, by some estimates, should have been announced for the 3rd or 4th week of July, or now the expectation is that it could perhaps be the 1st week of August, some delay in the monsoon session being set up. An ordinance cannot be enacted during the time when Parliament, the Houses of Parliament, are in session. The second bit is that the government is ideally expected to make an effort to... we are now joined by Mr. N.C. Saxena, a leading proponent of food security. Mr. Saxena, thank you very much for joining us. Your first quick reaction to the fact that the food security bill is now being decided that it will be introduced through an ordinance. Your first thoughts on that, Mr. Saxena? Mr. Saxena, my question to you, the cabinet has cleared the enactment of the food security entitlement law via an ordinance. What are your first thoughts on that? I think we'll try and reconnect with Mr. Saxena again in a bit. Some problems in connecting with him, but as we were discussing, what really is the political imperative? Why an ordinance just a month before the likely monsoon session? We are now joined by economist D.K. Joshi. Mr. Joshi, if you can hear me, Siddharth Zarabi from the CNBC TV studios in New Delhi. My first question to you, sir, the cabinet has agreed to enact the food security law via an ordinance. The impact clearly in the numbers has been debated extensively in the past. Your first thoughts on this?
Well, I think this bill has been hanging for quite some time, and I think if you look at the economic survey or the budget speeches, I think it was very evident that government wants to push the food security bill. They don't want to compromise on food subsidy, and they had decided to cut the other subsidies. So one good thing that happened was government started cutting down on petroleum subsidies, etc., to create space for the additional spending on the food bill. Now, I think since the ordinance has been passed, now the issue is how do you go to implement it? I mean, how do you effectively implement it? If the beneficiaries, intended beneficiaries, don't get the benefit of the bill, which is the below BPL households who don't have access to cheaper food, don't get it, then I think the purpose of the bill gets defeated. And I think there are a number of other implications.
That's a very important point, but let me come back to the fiscal arithmetic that you just touched upon. It is clear that if the ordinance, and that is going to get notified very soon, the procedure is that the president gives his assent and that law becomes effective from the date of the notification by the President of India. It clearly means that these enhanced entitlements or extended coverage of entitlements will kick into effect immediately, and there would perhaps be a lot of space to add to the current programs. But the point that you make about cutting back on other subsidies at a time when we are heading into election, and this clearly being the UPA's prime electoral weapon, how seriously do you think is the possibility of other subsidies being crunched to provide for the additional outgo of around 25,000 crore that will happen on this account? Will it not put pressure further on the fiscal?
So it will definitely put pressure on the fiscal. So that's why I said I think properly implementing it becomes the key, I mean, to get the maximum benefit out of it. Now, what government has been doing is I think they have reduced the petroleum subsidy. So there is going to be some cushion available from that. Unfortunately, rupee is depreciated, so it's going to cut into that saving that government would have got out of petroleum subsidy. Yeah, it is definitely going to be additional burden, but I think government did begin to create space by market linking some of the fuels. And also, I think if you look at the electricity prices, they are also being raised. I think so. There has been movement from moving the subsidy from petroleum towards food. I mean.
Well, Mr. Joshi, hang in there. We are joined by Mr. N.C. Saxena, noted proponent of this bill. Mr. Saxena, if you can hear me,
yes.
You might have just heard Mr. Joshi speak about the fiscal space, and that seems to have been created. But my question really to you, sir, is that in some ways this is a historic day for India. We perhaps now count amongst the only few nations in the world where food security is an entitlement by law, pending, of course, the President's assent to this ordinance. What really prompted the government, in your estimation, to have pushed through with an ordinance? And more importantly, was an ordinance the right way to have enacted such a far-reaching legislation?
Well, in fact, I am very happy that after all, ordinance has been passed. But unfortunately, the government is not ready with the list of beneficiaries. Government of India has also not decided in what manner the 75% or 50% for rural and urban areas would be distributed amongst the states. So therefore, these decisions are taken. The SEC survey will take about 6 months more. So therefore, in a way, the implementation of the act, of the ordinance, or the operationalization will not happen But there are certainly political advantages to be gained by passing this law, and it would certainly raise a lot of hope and expectation. But if the list is not well prepared, because I'm not very happy with the SECC methodology that they have followed, it could lead to a lot of dissatisfaction and anger amongst the people, because when they find that their names are not in the list, they would be very angry.
Right.
So the political
That's a very
advantage will
important
be
point, sir. That is an extremely important point, and I was coming to the second point. The state-wise coverage has to be determined by the Planning Commission. The states have to decide on the eligibility criteria. States can use socio-economic and caste census data. There is a special dispensation provision for the poorest of the poor. All of this and the timeline, implementation timeline issues that you just mentioned, very importantly, is it therefore the fact that as far as the actual benefits being rolled out and reaching to the people in their hands, this is a long-term exercise, perhaps 6 to 8 months, if not before?
In some of the poorer states like UP and Bihar, it will certainly take 6 months. But there are some states like Tripura and Haryana which might be ready within a month or so. Tamil Nadu will also take a lot of time, and Tamil Nadu was also not in favor, because they might find that their quota has been reduced. So therefore there are all kinds of operational problems which Government of India so far unfortunately has not sorted out. Plus the states have not completed the SECC survey, which will take another 6 months. So therefore, apart from creating a lot of expectation and hype, I do not know how the poor will really benefit in substantial
Okay,
manner.
expectation and hype, sir. Expectation and hype, very key and important words from you. But let me quickly go across to Mr. Kamal Farokhi of the Samajwadi Party, who joins us on the phone line. Mr. Farokhi, you have just heard a noted expert like Mr. N.C. Saxena, and we know that the cabinet has approved this bill through the ordinance route. Your first comment and reaction to this?
We are totally against it. We have been saying it, that this is anti-farmers, and on principle we say that there is a need of such a hurry. The parliament is going to meet within the next 15 days. Why it should not be discussed in the parliament? What is the hurry to the Congress to discuss, to bring in the kind of notification? It is absolutely wrong, in fact, on the part of the Congress. And even otherwise, financially, if you see it, there would be a burden of about 1.35 lakh crore on the government, from where the money will come. And ultimately, they have, even today, they have not yet been in a position to streamline the public distribution system.
So, Mr. Farokhi, sir, let's go over this one by one. The first important point from what you are saying, let me put you a direct question. Will the Samajwadi Party support the proposal that will have to be brought under law of converting this ordinance into a law in Parliament as and when the government decides to bring it? Because you are supporting this government from the outside, you are also opposed to this, but when it comes to activities inside the well of the House, we see a difference between words and actions.
No, you would see that on. No. We have been voting against all these kind of things. In fact, whenever there is a situation arises. So our track record is very clear. Even on FDI, you know it, that we have voted against it.
Absolutely.
The government was saved by somebody else. Even on this, we are not going to open our cards right now. But you know it, that we are a farmers society. We would not like anything to be done against the farmers. And number one. Number two is, we know it, that the media is exposing it, that the PDS system is total failure.
Right.
And that big amount of our food grains are being eaten up by the insects and whatnot.
Mr. Farokhi, the BJP has not yet spoken, at least in an authoritative sense, as a formal statement on what their stance will be. We have had individual leaders like Mr. Yashwant Sinha, the former finance minister, calling the proposal a complete disaster. What is it that you would expect the BJP to do this? I know your politics is different, but as far as this issue is concerned, what would you expect from them? Would you join hands with the BJP if they were to decide to oppose this on the floor of the House?
No, it is not the question of joining or not joining anybody. It is a question on principle. We will watch, we will study it, and apparently it looks that we will make a point of view, and But when the times will come, we will oppose it in the parliament outside also.
Okay, sir. Now, my one more quick question, and this is the timing of this being introduced. By now, we should have had a fair sense of when the monsoon session of Parliament will be called. The sense we are getting from the government is that those dates have been delayed. What do you think prompted the government to introduce this ordinance so close to the monsoon session? Don't you think this is in some ways a slight to the parliamentary process?
So, yes, the government, they will explain what is the intention, and we are feeling that it is just a ploy. In fact, they are not working for the people. They are only politicize the whole thing. But I would not like to comment more than that. Let us see it, and then we'll react.
My very final question: you said it is anti-farmer. What kind of reactions are you picking up from the farmer lobby as far as this proposal is concerned, sir?
We will articulate it when the question will come, but it is against farmers, and it is going to burden the state government as well as the central government, and it will be a disaster.
All right, Mr. Farooqi, I'll let you go at that. But clearly you have made some very important points on that. We are now joined by another Mr. Patnaik, who joins us on the phone line. My first question to you, sir, and your first thoughts on the cabinet and the UPA government after some weeks of dilly-dallying, now deciding to bring in something like the food security entitlement through ordinance. What are your first thoughts and reaction on this?
Well, my first reaction is that I'm happy that we are moving a step forward with regard to the food security bill, but I do find the ordinance route very, very disappointing. I think it's very disappointing that important legislation of this nature is not going to be debated in Parliament, and some of the amendments suggested by the opposition are not going to be taken on board. And I think it's a complete subversion of the democratic process, because this is a bill on which there should be national consensus. This is a bill on which all political parties should have come together and thought of a way of strengthening it. To have it passed through an ordinance is almost like having it passed through stealth. And the fact that it is being done reflects very poorly on the intent of the government, I would say, with regards to this bill.
Sir, tell me, in the event now, clearly, and it's not just an event, it is an absolute certainty that the government will have to bring a bill to replace this ordinance and convert it into a full-scale law which has been approved by Parliament. What are the chances, in your sense, from your point of view, of this happening in the monsoon session, as and when whatever dates are announced? Is it possible that the government will be able to push through this in the monsoon session itself?
Well, if the government is not able to push through this ordinance within 6 weeks of the first day of the convening of Parliament, the ordinance will lapse. And that would be a terrible setback for the government. But I think the government's calculation is that by introducing the ordinance, they are putting the entire opposition on the back foot. And they are trying to ensure that when it comes to Parliament for debate, no political party will be in a position to oppose the bill.
Do you think that is what will happen in Parliament, that parties like the BJP or we just heard the SP make some very strong comments about it, the BJP, barring the exception of some senior leaders like Yashwant Sinha, would perhaps have to toe the line of the government? Is that what you are expecting?
Well, it's not a question of what the BJP does or what the other opposition parties do. I think fundamentally there was no opposition to the bill. Please remember that, barring a few members, as you mentioned.
Yes.
All that the BJP wanted and other opposition parties wanted was to strengthen the nature of the bill, was to introduce amendments that would have extended this bill to other sections of society, to make it more inclusive, to bring in better grievance redressal mechanisms and so on. The fact that we will not get a chance in Parliament till much later in order to do this, and the fact that the government has introduced an ordinance in order to try to subvert that process, that is rather disheartening.
Well, those are very important points. Hang in there, Mr. Patnaik. I'm going to try and go across to our correspondent Rituparna Bhuyan, who has been tracking this very closely and is outside RCR, and try and check if he is available to answer some of the questions from the briefing that may have taken place. Ritu, the first question really, what drove the cabinet to taking this decision? We remember what happened at the last cabinet meeting, the back and forth. How did the environment change? Was the decision unanimous, or was there opposition from some ministers? What are you picking up?
Well, the cabinet ministers are still inside, but the only answer to your question, I think, will be gaining political brownie points. The cabinet today, they allowed or gave a nod to an ordinance route just about a month ahead of the monsoon session of the parliament, and that says it all. Remember that last time when the cabinet had discussed this issue, there was a decision that the ordinance route will be kept on hold, and the government will will go to the parliament and discuss this bill. And before that, Kamal Nath and the food minister, everyone told us that they will go and consult the political parties. Of late, the government has been maintaining
consultation. Ritu, there is no consultation. Ritu, there is no consultation that has happened between then and now. And yet this ordinance is being pushed through. And before I go to another expert on this matter, Anuradha Talwar, who is on the line, one quick comment from you. We heard the SP. What do you think the principal opposition BJP is likely going to say on this matter? Ritu, my question was, what do you think the principal opposition BJP is likely going to say on this matter? Because remember, they have been maintaining till some days back that the government has not bothered to consult them. And if an ordinance is what has now transpired as reality, don't you think the BJP's position will be even more strident on this issue?
Well, both ways, even if the BJP actually goes ahead and opposes it, Congress, Congress as a political party will be extremely happy, because that's what they want. It's a politically sensitive, idea of providing statutory right to food. And if any political party opposes it on the last year of a government, when the government itself is getting ready for elections, well, that's what the Congress would want. And secondly, there are several unanswered questions at the moment. For example,
we'll come to that, Ritu. I'm going to cut you. I'm going to cut you out at this point of time. We'll come to those unanswered questions, but let's pick up this whole point that you just made. Anuradha, if you can hear me, a nice summary really, that this is something to win political brownie points, knowing fully well that the implementation architecture has huge, massive gaps, as even Mr. Saxena just now told us, and that the actual benefits and the actual beneficiaries, both, there are serious question marks over that. What would you say on that?
Well, I think they've taken a big shortcut by trying to get an ordinance passed on this bill. I don't think there was political opposition to the right to food. If all political parties across all lines were in agreement on the right to food.
Absolutely.
The objections were basically to the kind of bill that was coming. There were objections about targeting, and there were objections about the quantities being reduced, because they have reduced the quantities from the present Supreme Court order of 35 kgs to 25 kgs.
Right.
And there were also, objections to the fact that farmers will be totally shut out from the bill.
Absolutely.
So this has been basically a shortcut, and there is basically the central government is trying to score brownie points. Okay, but they're not going to score brownie points in this way, because as you said, the entire structure by which the bill is to be implemented, the bill itself is so faulty.
Okay, the bill is very faulty. The bill is very faulty. That's a very good point. But in terms of the passage of such a law, the matter will have to go to Parliament. A bill will be prepared. Do you expect changes to be made at that stage?
I don't think so, because if there was that desire to actually listen to what people were saying and to change the bill accordingly, I think a number of political parties as well as activists have been talking about this for a long time. There's been a long debate over it, and the government doesn't seem to be moving much in the basics of the bill. Part of which is targeting, of excluding a large section of society, and of trying to connect it to agriculture. They don't seem to be moving at all on that. So I don't expect any massive changes when it goes from an ordinance to actually going into Parliament and being discussed there.
Okay, Anuradha, let me put that question, the point that you raised, let me put that question back to Rituparna. Ritu, given all the previous experience that you have had with laws and the manner in which they are legislated, and having tracked the food security bill pretty closely over the past few months, what are the chances that the flaws that campaigners and experts are talking about and the proposals of political parties, if a debate happens in Parliament, being incorporated in the final bill by the government? Do you think the government is willing to give and take as far as the final architecture of the food security law is concerned?
Well, my take on this is that I don't think there is any space of give and take at the moment, because the government, by taking the ordinance route, has already made it stand clear that it's going to implement this legislation. Even if it's an ordinance route, it is going to go and take Parliament's nod from both the houses. If somebody wants to make any change, they're welcome. But it's the government who will finally take a call on what kind of changes, if at all, that needs to be made to this ordinance. But then again, the big question remains on implementation. How will this ordinance be implemented, even if it gets the Parliament's nod? Because there are a whole host of
so one of the key things, Ritu, that is now coming in, and this is the BJP's first reaction. Nirmala Sitharaman, BJP spokesperson, being quoted as having said that the government is running away from a debate on the food security law. I really don't know what to make of this reaction, because every ordinance has to be followed by a law. I think this is yet another indication of the fact that the BJP itself is a divided house on how to support or not to support the bill. There are very senior BJP leaders, including those who control the party, who believe that it will be suicidal to oppose this bill, especially in the run-up to elections. But there are others, saner minds, I would say, economists, who believe that a much greater debate is needed. So Nirmala Sitharaman's reaction should be read as exactly that. The BJP is yet to come out with its clear stance, even though the Samajwadi Party has come on our show and explained what it really feels about the bill. Let me now go across to Mr. Devinder Sharma, who joins us on the phone line. Devinder, clearly a historic day as far as this proposal is concerned, a huge day. Is the manner of ushering in food security entitlement something that you agree with?
Well, I don't know whether we can really call it as a historic day, because I think one thing is very apparent: it's a bad bill being pushed in a bad way.
Bad bill being pushed in a bad way. Why would you say that, Devinder?
See, first of all, 65 years after independence, we are coming out with a legal entitlement bill. And that bill is being pushed through as if, there is no tomorrow. Why can't this bill be debated across the country? Why can't this bill be debated across political parties? Why can't we come out with a bill which really addresses the major question that how much hunger we are going to remove or reduce in the first 5 years? What will we do in the next 10 years? What will be the kind of hunger situation in the next 15 years? I would have expected a kind of a phase-out program being spelled out for zero hunger. Now that the bill is very quiet on that. The bill is only aiming at the next elections. And if you remember, the President of India had said when he was addressing the Parliament Joint House, he had said that ultimately the food entitlement in the form of cash. So cash would mean that you are actually moving away from the emphasis on procurement. Once you remove procurement, because nobody is going to deliver the or encash the coupons in the ration shops, it's going to be in the other markets. And once you do that, you are actually demolishing or dismantling your procurement system. And that is what the Food Ministry says. It doesn't want to procure 80 million tons. It wants to cap it at 20 million tons. So look at it. They're very cleverly destroying the procurement system of this country, which means you're actually impacting the agriculture of this country. And once you do that, food security problem is going to be enhanced in the years to come.
Okay, Devinder, hang on. That's a very important point that you are making. You are saying that instead of enhancing or providing food security, the food security bill in its present form is going to destroy food security. Let me get a reaction quickly, if you are still joined by Mr. Patnaik on this matter. Do you agree with this assessment, Mr. Patnaik?
Well, I couldn't hear what Devinder Sharma was saying, other than the way you have summarized it.
Yeah.
I don't quite agree that the food security bill would, one can argue that the entitlement should be more. And I am all for arguing that. One can argue that this should be made universal. And I am all for arguing that. But what this bill is going to do is provide a comprehensive framework under which we can look at food security issues. And therefore, to that extent, it is positive. Devendra Sharma is absolutely right when he says that the entitlements will be reduced. And I hope that when the discussion happens in Parliament, we will be able to enhance the implementation. So I would summarize it differently. I would say it's a very small step in the right direction, and it's disappointing that the UK government has not taken a bolder step when they have thought of this program.
Okay. Devinder, you heard Mr. Patnaik. I'm going to ask you to react to this, and also a thought on what would happen to agriculture prices and overall food price inflation, which has been a constant worry for so many years now.
Well, I haven't been here to watch on my phone. I have not been able to hear what Mr. Patnaik said. But on the other question, let me make it very clear that, once you are actually dismantling your procurement system, you are putting farmers to face the vagaries of the markets. And we have seen in this country, wherever there is no procurement system, the farmers have been forced to under distress sell and so on. Now, knowing that, and then also the two planks of the government strategy now, one is to cap procurement, the other one is to use FCI for future trading. That's what the Ministry of Food is now asking the NCDEX to clear this proposal that the foods FCI will now be used for future trading. So which means the government actually is withdrawing from its sovereign role of distributing food.
Right.
So you come to 2014, you will see actually this program turning into cash for vote program.
Okay, cash for votes. Hold on, Devinder. Hold on, Devinder. Cash for votes by 2014. A good point here. We are joined by Planning Commission member Mr. Sen. Mr. Sen, if you can hear me, the question and the reaction really being very simple. Is this the best that we could have done? Should the food security entitlement law, which perhaps no one disagrees is needed in a country like India, been introduced in this manner? And is the current proposal and its architecture something that gives you hope?
Well, I'm a bit disappointed that it has to be done as an ordinance. In fact, I think that is, to me, the most immediate disappointment. It will in any case have to come before the legislature. There will have to be a debate. A number of very opposing viewpoints are involved. It's a serious matter which deserves serious hearing of all those viewpoints. It has to be a food security bill because it cannot be, I just overheard the last conversation about a cash bill.
Yeah, that's
I hope that doesn't happen, because you can try and convert food into cash, and then cash could be anything. So that's, I think, something which one needs to hear and oppose if the proposition does come.
Sir, let me ask you about some of the concerns that are being thrown up at this stage, including the issue of the coverage that is perhaps yet to be determined fully, and this was to be done by the Planning Commission, the facts that states have to separately decide the eligibility criteria, all the associated issues as far as identification, dispersal of these benefits, and even the identification of the beneficiaries is concerned. Where do we stand on all of that, sir? What is the current situation in that regard?
I agree with you entirely. I think before the bill at least becomes law, and the ordinance is now out, we have to actually ask who is going to get all of this stuff. Now, all that we have in place is a set of numbers still not complete from the socio-economic and caste census. That process will take a fair amount of time more.
How much time, sir? Sorry to interrupt you. How much time will that process take?
That process will probably take as long as states want to take them, because it's not an easy job to actually go through and do identification and say you are in and you are out. It's something which states will have to do, and the states will take their own time about it. The SECC results are by and large available for most states. The SECC will be made available to the states, but how long time will they take, and most importantly, how many states would be willing to actually do such a politically surcharged activity just before an election is something which will have to be seen. So those are issues which have to do with decisions which will have to be taken at the state level.
So does that mean, Dr. Sen, that what you are really saying is that as far as the timeline for it to be rolled out, and we know that it is the states who are the actual implementers of all of this, the timeline is perhaps 6 months, 12 months away, and there is no immediate sort of hype or massive amounts of disbursals that are likely to happen?
Well, I don't know. You see, what may well happen is that the states which will do it very quickly are states which already have a fairly well-developed PDS.
Who are those, sir? Who are those states?
For example, in Tamil Nadu, it's already 100% are covered. In Andhra Pradesh, 80% are covered. In Chhattisgarh, 80% are covered. You see, states which have, Chhattisgarh in fact has its own law as well. Now, most of these states will simply continue to do whatever they are. They will be well above the 75% and 50%. And all that will happen is that they will get their own schemes will go around. They'll get some government of India money.
Sir, what about the states, sir, which perhaps need food security the most? Our Bimaru states, so to say, although that is something that is almost derogatory in its connotation. But what about the states that perhaps whose citizens and population really need this? What about them, sir?
You're right. I think the most important ones are UP, Bihar. To some extent, it is even Rajasthan. And UP and Bihar will have to get, UP is slightly better than Bihar. Bihar will have to get its act together. Now, who will get it? That decision is, I think, less important in the case of these states than the mechanism on the ground to make the PDS work. But making the PDS work will require to do the sort of things which say Chhattisgarh, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, even Odisha have done in recent years.
So clearly, sir, I mean, I know you will not want to talk about the politics, but just to underline the very important comments that you are offering our viewers, as far as Uttar Pradesh is concerned, the ruling dispensation, the Samajwadi Party, has just now, a few minutes back, said that it does not support it. I am not fully aware at this stage whether UP has some sort of extensive, food dispersal program at subsidized rates. I imagine there would be. Bihar, which is headed by a government which is now closely getting closer to the UPA as an ally. Nitish Kumar, as the Chief Minister, has gone on record in the past to oppose this bill. Rajasthan, we know, is just a few months away from election. So clearly, would you agree with my assessment that as far as the three crucial states where you said the food security is perhaps more required than elsewhere, all three of them, for a variety of reasons, are not going to see this entitlement become real for perhaps the foreseeable future, sir?
I don't know about the foreseeable future. I mean, they obviously will want to have a say in how the bill will work itself out in their own states, and I think they're perfectly entitled to that. However, I think one of the things about a bill like this is that it creates expectations amongst people, and politicians are clever enough to adjust to those expectations.
That's a very important point, sir. Politicians are very sort of adept at meeting those expectations. But let me ask you one more thing, and I know this is a sort of bugbear question that has been asked in the past. Will this lead to an unending food price inflation spiral, the likes of which India has never seen, and is something that no one in the Indian system will ever be able to control? That is what some of the experts on our show, who are in fact hearing you as you speak, are hinting at.
No, I think that's just scaremongering. The reason it is scaremongering is that inflation is essentially caused by anything which does either of two things. One is either it is going to increase demand massively for food. The food security bill as it has, or the ordinance as it has been passed, is limiting the total amount which will go through the public distribution system to well below what we have procured in the last 3 years on an average, in any of the last 3 years. So it's not going to actually make much more demand than is already being made. The second reason why there can be inflation is if it's an open-ended system. Here's a very closed-ended system. Nobody is saying that the total amount is going to go up. All that is happening here is that people who are getting food at 5 rupees will get it at, say, 3 rupees. I mean, that's the basic difference which is coming. Yes, it will have a fiscal cost, but I don't see how it's going to be an unlimited and open-ended fiscal cost.
Mr. Sen, the fiscal cost, and this is again what we have heard in the past, some states saying that the numbers were something that would put a burden on their own state accounts, and that their fiscal space was very constrained at this point of time and they will not be able to support it. In some ways also saying that while the center will come up with this law to gain political mileage, it will be the states who will have to bear the costs. Do you think, as far as the fiscal arithmetic of our states individually is concerned, there are reasonable or rightful concerns that they have?
Well, they certainly have some rightful concerns, but they are not very large concerns. The rightful concern is the following. That is, in order to make the system work, you have to have a set of things or infrastructure in place. The way in which the food moved from the FCI depots to the PDA shop,
right,
and the tracing mechanism. Now, Chhattisgarh did all of that. That side of that cost them about 200 crores.
Okay.
And that sort of money is going to be needed. States will have to spend that sort of money, and they will, I think, demand that, why doesn't the center share in that to some extent?
Sir,
I think that would be a legitimate demand. But to say that, the center will be the gainer rather than the states, there will be lots of states who will be huge gainers. I mean, states which are already, there are now states which are already selling it at prices less than what this ordinance provides for. All that will happen, they are now buying it at a higher price and selling it at lower. They'll get it from the government of India at a lower price.
Right, sir. Therefore, this begs the second follow-up question, and just to sort of put it in context, apart from the top line number that we are speaking about, 1,24,747 crore for FY14, is it possible, or has the Planning Commission done any sort of exercise in terms of the additional impact that our states put together will have to bear on this count? You mentioned 200 crore as the sort of structural reform cost that Chhattisgarh has already incurred so far.
See, I have not done, this is not my basic area. I have not done any work on this myself, not as the Planning Commission.
Sir.
The point is that some costs will be there, and those costs are in the nature of a setup cost, and I'm sure these matters
I think we've lost our connection with Dr. Sen, but clearly making some very important points. We've been in breaking news for quite some time. We are still joined by Mr. Patnaik and Mr. Sharma, who are there. But to both of you experts, you've heard the comments from Dr. Sen of the Planning Commission. Quick thoughts from both of you. I'll go to you, Mr. Sharma, first.
Well, I think many of the things that Mr. Abhijit said were very right and are areas of concern. But I think one thing which I would like to emphasize is that food security bill cannot be seen in isolation. It has to be seen in connotation with almost the policies that we have in rural development, in agriculture, in international trade, in science and technology, and so on. Now, unfortunately, everyone is viewing it as only a kind of a dole program, 5 kilos, how many years, how many people, and so on.
Right.
I think what is important is to let's say, give an example of oil seeds. India is importing 56,000 crores worth of edible oil every year. Now, you know, on the one hand, we are reducing our import duties. We almost brought edible oil duties to zero. And then we say we are going to increase our food security by giving, you know, raising productivity and so on. Completely a hogwash. You know, 93, 94, we were almost self-sufficient in edible oils. Then we started reducing our import duties, as a result of which flood of imports came in. Now look at the free trade agreements. You know, the EU-India free trade agreement is going to open up the floodgates for dairy products. So you are going to destroy, now, you know, agriculture has done the damage. Now you're going to destroy the dairy sector also with cheaper imports coming in.
Mr. Sharma, just hang in there. Some comments coming in from the food minister. I'm just going to sort of read it out for the benefit of our viewers, and then we'll try and see if we have that bite which we can play out. The food minister says that the food security ordinance has been sent to the President's office for notification. So, you know, just as an indication of the speed with which this government is sort of moving on this, and clearly this would also mean that the presidential assent to this ordinance would happen perhaps very shortly. We cannot guess as to what time the President would take, but clearly given the overall importance of this matter and the manner of treatment of previous ordinances, it is going to get enacted very, very shortly. Mr. Sharma, on your points, let me just ask you to make one summary comment, and this is in response to what Yashwant Sinha told our channels some weeks back. He said that the food security bill will create a nation of indolence. Was that a harsh comment?
No, I don't think it was a harsh comment. In fact, I am worried about it because when NTR was the chief minister, he started a 2 rupee rice program, and it did tremendous damage to agriculture in Andhra Pradesh. Now we know with 1 rupee, 2 rupee, 3 rupee, as various states have got, you know, what will be the impact on agriculture? And that means what will be the impact on country's food production capacity? And then what will be the impact on the country's food production
But Mr. Sen just now said, Devinder, Mr. Sen just now said that that is scaremongering.
Well, Mr. Sen can say whatever he wants to say because he is in Planning Commission, I can understand. But all I'm saying is I'm trying to link up agriculture with the availability of food. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Whether you want to destroy your country's agriculture or not, I think has not been evaluated in a manner it should have been. And that is why I'm saying there's a need for a bigger discussion, bigger debate before we just count our benefits out of this food security program that the country is going to dole out. That is what I think is more worrying because nobody is drawing the linkage with agriculture as well as food security.
That's a point very well taken, Devinder, and you have, we know you tracked the overall agriculture economy for many, many years now. We are going to wrap up this special show very shortly, but let's summarize all that has happened and transpired so far. The cabinet has met and it has considered and decided to go ahead with the ordinance route for the food security bill. The food minister has just now said that the bill, the ordinance rather, has been sent to the President of India, Pranab Mukherjee, for his assent. Therefore, that is likely to happen very shortly. It's clear that the food security bill at a cost of almost 1,25,000 crore is reality and is upon us. But there are many, many challenges that will be faced in the days and months ahead. Not just the fact that the government will have to run the gauntlet of Parliament to get this ordinance converted into a full and proper law, and at that stages there would be many more amendments and political opposition, and perhaps an addition to the burden that it may exert. The debate will continue for many, many years from now as to whether this was indeed a historic day or a red letter day as far as the political economy of this country is concerned. But for now, the UPA has put a key electoral weapon in its pocket and is going to fire at all guns. If you've been watching this show, thank you very much.